It's Wednesday, Klaus here. It's time for another basic Davinci Resolve tutorial.
Hello, Klaus here. It's Wednesday and time for yet another basic Davinci Resolve tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to have a look into some basic Fusion, some tips or tricks if you are starting out with Fusion, and just some great guidelines to keep in mind when using Fusion. So let's get right into it. So first up, we're going to take a Fusion composition and drag down, and you can find that under the effects. And for this little thing, that will be just fine. And we're just going to jump right into Fusion. So inside of Fusion, first thing to keep in mind is, let's say we are going to take a photo we have right here. I'm just going to push 1 so you can see what that actually is. Then I'll take away the media pool. So if I were just to connect this to the media out, this is going to be our resolution. And maybe that is not going to fit to our timeline, because maybe we are doing a 1080 timeline or something like that. And this is simply just not going to fit into our project. So a very good idea to do is actually to put in a background, because if you do that, that's going to put in your resolution timeline. Pretty nice and a pretty good thing to do. So let's say that we want to add in our photo here. And you can do that by adding in a merge, which you can find right here, and drag down in between the background and the media out. And I'm just going to connect this here, and here I have my photo inside of a 1080 timeline. So another good practice to do is, of course, you could go into the merge and use sizing and control the photo I have right here. However, I think it's a good thing to actually use a transform node, which you can find right here. I'll drag that in and add that in between. So the transform will do more or less the same as the merge. However, if you do a project and you come back, let's say half a year later, you have maybe done a lot of things in merge nodes and you can't remember what you actually did. A good thing would be to do all of those things in the transform, and that's why it would be a lot easier to do it in that way. Another trick or another thing is, remember to name your nodes. And that can be done pretty easy just by pushing F2. And I'll just call this photo. So now I know that this is photo whenever I come back. Another thing to remember as well, I'm just going to kill my transform here and my merge node. So as you saw before, there's different ways of adding in nodes. In this case, I want to add in a merge, and I can do that by dragging this from the toolbar, or I could push Shift and Spacebar. And here I have my select tools, and then I could, for instance, write merge or start to do that. And then, my merge are here, and all of the merge or the 3D merge or the media in, they also have like a shortcut. For instance, a merge is MRG. So if I know that, I can write MR, and it's right there. And I can then just select that and add that into my timeline. And then I could push Shift and drag and put this in between and connect like that. Pretty easy, pretty nice. There's also another way, which is kind of easier and way faster. If I have, for instance, my photo here and I want to add in a merge, I can simply drag here and connect this to my background out, and it's going to do a merge automatically, just like that. Again, that's another way of doing it. Also, another way to bring in tools is just to right-click at the grid here and go up to Add Tools. And if you know what you're looking for, you could add it that way as well. Also, another trick to do, I'm just going to build in some think very quickly. I'm adding in a background and I'm adding that to the media out. And I'm taking yet another background and I'm going to add that into the background. So that is going to merge in. I'm going to take my merged background, change the color. Let's say we'll be making a red color. Then I'm just going to take a circle. I'm going to add that in. Now we have this round circle. So for instance, if we go back here in the time to the first frame and we move our circle out of the frame, I'm going to put in a keyframe and then let's go, let's say 26 or 36 frames forward. I'll then take this and move this past the screen. So we have this little animation right here. Nothing fancy. However, we can make this look a lot better by adding in motion blur. And you can add in motion blur to your different nodes by going down to the merge node, going to settings, and right here we can toggle on motion blur and we can actually change the quality, different things like that, the shutter angle and stuff like that. So now we have this instead. So you can see we have now added in motion blur, giving our little thing a little bit more realism. Also, another thing to keep in mind, because I know there's a ton of things you can do in Fusion, but you sometimes forget a very simple thing or a simple concept. The different nodes do exactly what you tell them to do or what they are. So for instance, let's take our circle here yet again. If I want to blur this, of course, I'm going to add in a blur node in between, going to the blur, and then of course this is going to blur out my red circle here. And that's all this node is going to do. So keep this in mind when you're working with Fusion. The node does exactly what they are named and what you would expect them to do. So that was some very fast tips on how to start to use Fusion, some basic stuff and some good things to keep in mind when you are using Fusion. I do hope you found this video useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it with your friends if you think it would help them out, and if you want to be notified every time there's a new video on this channel, please hit that bell icon down in the corner. Until next time, keep filming, keep learning, and keep sharing.